Okay, so I work with people. Okay, so I work with people. Permission to speak freely, openly, with full confidentiality of everyone's identities, of course. I have a story I need to share. A personal experience to get off my chest. It's a funny story, I swear. In hindsight, you'll laugh. Okay, so, I work with people in community services, for years as a youth and disability caretaker, and anyone if you is interested in getting into the role, there are a few things they don't tell you, some things that need hearing. I have a tale or two, only for adults who can respect the comedic relief. I had planned a full event, a show for others to share their stories for comedic relief, celebrating other in the like me, telling stories from your own personal experiences working with people. A 2-hour production show, each person telling one or two comedic stories, 2 to 5 minutes on stage depending on enlistments. An opportunity to share stories with others, free of judgment, and the audience having a common relationship working with people. Some of the stories may be funny or unfortunate, but all uplifting and providing comedic relief. Share the joys, the highs, the stories of resilience, the persistence of being a top bloke, a top chick, maintaining that smiling face for hours working with special need clients or dodging glass jars of bolognese sauce, jam, and mayonnaise. Please join me on stage to share this story. Reminded of confidentiality. Head at MMAD Gosford Red Tree Theatre. Other locations? Bio Canteen Leagues Club Gosford RSL. Stage lighting, seating, stand-up comedic acts from people on our team or within the industry. Those willing to stand up and share a funny story for all of us to cheer and support as we have similar experiences and laugh at the commonalities. Rules: be respectful to all, no heckling or roasted put-downs, be open, humorous, and comedic. On stage gets payment or meal voucher for two valued at $100, donated by the club or establishment. Everything starts somewhere, so I've started here in written form. Please enjoy. Yours truly, Ryan Dillon. Title: Okay, so I work with people. My first experience working with other people. For most of my childhood, my father was up early and home late, always in a bright greeny yellow high visual singlet and dark blue work shorts, working as a professional removalist. The days when steel cap boots were a choice, not a requirement, the neighbor's broken toe from falling piano evidence to make the right choice. For my father, every day ending with a beer in one hand and a bong in the other. A lamb chop and veggie dinner, as fathers should. My father had taken me to work a few times, getting up in the darkness of the morning, so early the birds were still sleeping. I remember packing lunch and jumping in the truck to travel long distances and being in the cabin for hours. Every good removalist needs a good wingman. The work requires an offsider for reversing guidance to lifting safely. The offsider needs to be reliable and motivated and have his wits about him due to the obvious dangers. Often I vow of myself to be that guy for my dad, but I was only a kid and my father needed to pick up the real offsider on our way through. My father informs me as we drive over to pick him up from his location. As we arrive, seeing this guy on the grassy curbside, the brakes screech and let out a tosh from the air brakes. I look down to him from the passenger side window to see this guy chug down what was remaining of his Victoria bitter beer and throwing the bottle to the side before climbing up the truck door. Hey Nat, this guy is chugging down a beer, I inform my father before the dude gets in. He opened the door. The raw smell of a drunken hangover hit me in the face like my father's breath last Saturday night, pungent. My father could tell he was still drunk from the night before and knew he had topped it off with the hair of a dog chugging down a VB for breakfast. But having no other assistance, this guy will have to do as the offsider for the day, as we only need him to unload and unpack once at the client's new place. Windows down, we finally get to the location. My father didn't even ask this dude to get out and give him guidance revising into the driveway, something he always did even if he was confident, an obvious sign of his distaste and lack of trust in the new guy. The guy slumps out the truck door, falling to his feet. I follow, climbing down and stretching my legs. My father checks logbooks while this guy opens up the truck. The first thing he's done other than stink, I check out the wild overgrown garden. Walking down the brick driveway, the house hiding in the shadow of wide foliage of leafy shades of green trees, the ground covered in native bush scrubs. My father jumps down from the truck, keys in hand, and proceeds to open the tall triangular roof raised high from the dark brick house. My father makes his way up a small set of stairs across the veranda. The windows to his left framed white with large glass panels, reaching out and unlocking the dual glass sliding doors, making his way in and checking for squatters. Hello, hello, hello. I followed him into the house. I stood in the lounge room while my father went through the house to the back door. The brown furry carpet and bright blue walls matched the wooden ceiling with large overhanging beams. It was a modern country vibe. The house check done, it's time to get started. My father and I passing this guy as he walking an exercise bike down the drive and into the house. Oh, I better hang a piss before we get into it, hey boy, my father states with question in his tone. He turns and rushes past the other guy to get to the toilet inside, getting up the veranda and into the house through the lounge room, down the hall to the toilet, the door. Just as he opens it, boom, smash, crash, ding, chinchas. The sound of breaking glass vibrates throughout the house and down the street. I rush back down the driveway towards the sound, my father and I coming to see the chaos at the same time. This guy has walked through the glass door with the exercise bike under his arm. The gals shatter into 1,000 pieces, the guy kneeling on the brown furry carpet holding his head with pain. It's then we see blood coming out from between his fingers. Towels, we need towels, my father screams out. I rush around the house to find nothing useful as this guy bleeds onto the floor. Go next door and ask to call an ambulance, my father instructs me. The next thing I remember is a white towel on this guy's head as he need a towel turned pink, and shortly after the ambulance turned up, my father took me home with the assistance of a workmate and excitedly told my mother the story and was happy to crack a beer and have a hot one, leaving the load for tomorrow. What happened to that dude nobody knew or wanted to tell me. Being the paper boy with my best friend on a Sunday morning. I had a knife held to my throat for the bum bag with $40 in loose coins and change inside midway through our Sunday run. Whistle blowing early Sunday morning. Walking around the early times of western suburbia, we were loving life when two young junkie-looking fuckers made their way over. One held one hand behind his back. My instinct was to tell Nick to walk forward to them with both papers to see which one they wanted, as I thought they wanted neither, as they pushed past Nicholas with angry looks aiming directly for me, holding the wheelbarrow with the bum bag over my shoulder. Within a few intense seconds, one held the knife to my throat, whispering threats as the other guy unclipped the bum bag, demanding a cigarette from two 10-year-old boys and then running off into the distance. Nick stood shocked and I ran for help, sprinting to the closest house, to see old Betty Granny smoking a durry sitting on her veranda stairs. Yet I seen that, but sorry I can't help, I don't have a working phone, as she drags again on her cigarette. We walked back to the news agency full of emotions, feeling a sense of defeat. We informed the boss as soon as we got back, volunteering to call the police to tell them what happened and the boss's money back. After explain what happened to the police over the phone, we were invited to the station to look at mugshots. Then after hanging up the phone, the boss started to blame us, saying we stashed the papers and took the money. Nick was witty and said, bullshit. If we stole the money, where is it now? If we trashed the papers, why is the wheelbarrow still half full? Why would I risk my first job for a few gold coins to spend on what? Lollies? Nick gives a statement more than a line of questioning. Neither of us went back to that job. Even after the police station, the culprits were never found for the desperate robbery of two 10-year-old paper boys. My first job working for people. Fired because I wasn't gay. Gaining a job in a little mall cafe after handing out resumes in my local town. The surf shop didn't call back because I stole a cap when I first moved up, and the local surf shop had cameras and was unsupervised. While the owner Ken went wakeboard in the Taukley Twin Lakes just behind the shop on the main road of Taukley, I get a call asking for an interview up at the little old mall that is stuck back in time and disrepair. Rooms hidden behind locks and barricades. I couldn't help myself but to investigate what was on the other side of the doors and what was eager to see what was in the strange office spaces, as I could only see in through the small door window to see old display shelves and decaying minions, odd walkways with long hallways. Yellow and brown patterned carpet leads the way to each dank dark untouched room with locked doors. A young teenager keen for adventure, now walking into the small cafe inside for an interview, sitting down with both owners, who are two middle-aged guys, one short gray and thick glasses, his business, and as I quickly came to realize the other guy is his life partner, the other owner a taller and much thicker guy with a ponytail in the full gay tone with pointed mannerisms. Being proud of the short one of the two, Robert gloated about being the gay couple that owns their own business, had a good reputation within the local and mostly elderly community. His partner Gavin made coffee for us while Robert got started with a casual interview. The conversation, basic questions at first with light-hearted humor breaking the tension. It was pleasant so far. Even though I didn't know how to make a coffee at the time, I could see myself working there. As the questions continued about school, math versus cash, availability, the interview was rounding up to the end. The little gay dude was hesitant to ask his final question as he picked his folder, and his partner Gavin returned the cups to the kitchen, a perfect time for Robert to ask whatever the question was procrastinating behind his lips. Just a final question, he states, yeah, what's that? I reply, what is your sexual preference? So, well, I have many friends, some gay, others straight, some don't know what they want. Others mates would rather play sports or hide in the art room at lunch to play cards. So, well, I guess I know plenty of gay people, I stated, knowing in all reality, I didn't know even one gay person at the time, and to be honest, knowing these dudes were homosexuals hiring a young fella like me, I was purposefully avoiding saying I'm into girls. I love meow meow. I'm a big fat fan of lady parts and the women's attached to them. Why? Because I wanted to earn money, and I knew if he thought he had sexual opportunity and or ever just having a sexy young fella around for his wank bank fantasies, I needed the job, and yeah, fuck it, why not let them think I'm a potential gay cunt? Yeah, fuck it, I'm flamboyant enough with my frost-tipped hair and lip piercing. I was happy to lead the couple on with their own thoughts and fantasies as long as I was employed and I didn't have to get on my knees. I'll shake my booty for some cash in my tight jeans, but there is no way I'll be getting them off around this too, mate. My father warning me not to go to the Christmas party, as he knew their intentions and knew I was gullible to attending, thinking I would see snow and receive gifts. But as my father made obvious, the party will have below a mounted pile of cocaine and numbing gel for your butthole to be fucked. That shit's probably the only way they can get it up with numb dicks. They'd fuck you in your butthole for hours. Probably after they have feed you alcohol and you've passed out, and gift would be waking up tied to wall and kept it. What is name? Gavin. Gavin's enslaved gimp, his personal love toy. Listen son, for those guys there is no Santa, just a jolly big red ball sack. I'm telling you, do not go, no matter what they promise you. So I declined their offer, leaving it until the day before to tell them I had family commitments come up. After this they were different towards me in a way, like I had disappointed them unintentionally somehow, and without my knowledge had begun to find reasons to grow a disliking towards me. They couldn't outright fire me without reason, as I had become a very good waiter and barista within the 6 months of working there. Routine became comfortable and the cash reliable, until one day I came in with enthusiasm and lustful excitement, telling them about the sexy little beautiful pixie chick I was smitten, bragging openly about how much I liked this girl named Kylie Jade, describing her in black lace petticoat, Doc Martens boots and gothic makeup. She was a total babe, and I told them I hoped she would become my girlfriend. Finished the shift that day as normal, and on my way out said, okay guys, I'll see you both tomorrow. Not thinking much of it, I got home, had a few bong and a hot shower. Then looking at the roster on the back of my closed doors, I realized I have tomorrow as a roster day off. Sweet, I get a phone call the morning after my roster day off. It was Gavin. He stated I was no longer needed, cold and flat out. But why? I asked. He said it's because I didn't come in yesterday defending myself. I stated it was my roster day off. He said in a stern, angry toned voice, but you told us you would be coming in and you didn't show up. Again what? I've never even had a roster day off or called in sick. What do you mean? I asked, flustered and confused. My father listening in the background. Well, we don't need you to come in anymore. Okay, so, I'm fired because I didn't come in on my day off. I stated no. You told us you have a girlfriend and didn't show up when you said you would, so, yeah, we're letting you go. Okay, bye now, bye beep, beep, beep. I stood there shocked listening to a dial tone. After I hung up the handset, my father seen the look on my face and asked why the long face. What's up? What was that about? I told him I just got fired because I'm not gay. My father laughed in shock as I did too, laughing at him for a moment in disbelief before getting mad and irritated, wanting to burn down the shop. But as my father said, people cloud die and you be in jail for life, getting your bum clean scrubbed out daily in the shower with soapy hard penis and brushing your teeth with another man's cock as your toothbrush. So don't do that. Just know your father will take care of it. And I felt comfort trusting in my father's word. Working with children for 8 years, ages 5 to 12, from after school care 5 days a week and 5 days of all day activities during the holiday seasons. There were interesting times. Most of all was a small screaming children on the spectrum. One day particular, the small female child runs out from the game to the sideline, stomping out of a game in anger, pouting with her bottom lip, having a face posed for maximum empathy, when no one took notice of her stomping off in a fuss and the game just kept on playing. Her face opened up and let out a siren scream. The high-pitched tone would match that of Mariah Carey, the sound emanating mayhem. The brain discombobulated as the child used their superpower of a vocal high-pitched squeal, penetrating the eardrums of anyone near and those who come within her radios, dizzy on their knees with bleeding eardrums, feeling their head is about to explode. For a distance, observe and then make my approach with my back turned, not making eye contact. This superpower is dangerous. Slowly walking back towards the child, I get within 10 meters. Her vocals still wailing louder on my approach, giving warning for me to stay away. The game of soccer coming to a pause. From the group of children out walks a child's twin sister, immune to the screeching sound. She walks through the noise with her shoulders back and head held high, a comic book moment of an action star, as she walked directly to her sister at the side fence, cutting through the nonsense of her sister's tantrum, walking up to her, stopping within a pace, raising her left hand to her sister's right shoulder, her eyes gazing to the group below. As she softly spoke her sister, her siblings' breathing went deep and long, slowing to silence. She hummed tones to communicate. She settles enough to now look up and make eye contact. As their eyes came to meet, she places her other hand on her sister's shoulder and nods to confirm she is now all right. With a slap on her sister's baseball cap, the screamer child smiles and walks back on court like nothing ever happened, skipping away happy as Larry. At other job more recent, I was quested to care for 5 children all under 10, ranging for 2 to 9. The care hours were 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. split shift, retuning 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. The job description gave details of the duties being to provide routine care and support for the children and give respite to the grandmother, when possible. The main purpose is to assist in school transportation. Well, when I found out first day on the job, I was lacking details and information to provide adequate care. Without the routine folder, there was nothing to give guidance on what the heck I was doing there. The grandmother was a tobacco-stained, worn-out old leather jacket, who didn't have the energy to deal with communication to me or the children, too exhorted to tell me or explain, or was in a huff because she presumed I knew everything in their routine, names and complexity of needs. The exhorted husky yelped to stop, because that's not how you do it. Without instruction, I was stumbling my way through the first few hours, pretending I knew what I was doing there, why I was there, eager to help and provide my assistance in any way. Even confirming the main purpose of transportation was lost in translation as the two older children are picked up each day and dropped off. The three younger children need transport to daycare 5 minutes down the road. Double trip in my small shitbot Subaru, so finally weeks in we get a routine working, even allowing time for the older boy and I to indulge in his interest of marine life and riding his BMX bike as fast as he can. Weeks later, for nowhere, unknown to me, another worker turns up. Half an effort. Sally had a hard name to pronounce and Grandma couldn't remember it, neither could I, and there was no roster, email, of any kind to tell us her name for the 5th time today. Just having another person in the mix can add disruption and turn things to chaos, one wanting attention, one scared of you running off crying. So many that another is squealing tantrum grunts through a bitten mile bottle while swinging between the pillars of the balcony above screaming, "No, but hold on, there's still two more." One playing like a normal child until the youngest comes in and bonks her on the head with the doll she'd been dragging around for the last fortnight. Then all hell is on, like a pack of wild monkeys echoing calls through the jungle. They all know where the other is and what they are doing. The oldest comes thunder barging from out back to upstairs, thud, 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 thud up to the games room and stands in the doorway with hand to hip and a mean squinting glare, a twitch turn of the upper lip and a flick of the hair. What's going on here? The children fall silent, too scared to answer. Within a minute play resumes as normal. Quitting time came when I was left to care for the 2-year-old on an home swing in the backyard, not suitable for toddlers, but Grandma wanted me to put it together anyway, swinging the child after it was built in celebration. She asked, "Well?" grunted to be lifted into the seat and indicated to push her by the back as you normally would, rejecting other comfort of support, hand held to back on holding the ropes. The kid wanted to be pushed higher, so higher we go. I'm surprised she holding on so well, to be honest. Smiling and balancing well, going back and forth, still the danger was there, so I'm pushing this small kid on a swing, the kid crying out to go higher, push harder, the swing set rocking out of the dirt. The adrenaline addiction toddler refuses to hold. Can't just stop on the open seat, every second required full attention. Meanwhile, while I'm fighting the swings from coming out and slowing a disgruntled 2-year-old, the two youngest, whips off his nappy while we're all outside. Not only does he throw the nappy over the next door fence, he likes doing that so much he went looking for whatever else he could find to start throwing over the fence, running butt naked towards rocks and sticks pile in the corner of the yard. Looking the other worker, I see her sitting there clamming ignorance to the situation. I look to man who is sucking down yet another cigarette. The kid managed to get 3 rock over the fence between 2 stick be tossed over the fence. Again a husky yell to stop interrupts the activity for a moment before laughter and the search for more rocks and sticks continues. Suddenly one kid wants the bike the other is on. Buggies are cheeping because another kid has their hand in the cage they were just told to stay away from. Next door came over later in the day and complained that the flying rocks and sticks could have hurt her dog. The smell of pot lingering out from under the room belonging to the middle-aged man still living with his now elderly mother, that is caring for his sister children. Once he went running to Grandma because I had used her special spoon for a cup of coffee. He was rude to the children and I whenever he emerged from the dungeon of Smoky Doom, red-eyed and angry, like a ginger troll, the thigh foblong. Fuck that. I'd had enough, I was done. Working with the teenage hormone monsters, just another teenage dirtbag baby, just like you. Working as an in-school youth mentor for young men, small groups for conversations about life and the questions teens have about its complexities. Meeting for an hour once a week. Only new students to the school or back from suspension would have to wait and join a new group in the next term, benefiting the bonding experience of the group. Trusting in routine and attendance of known participants. 1 year of boys was to close for my own comfort, being all over each other like kids on heat in a dark cinema, but 2 or more boys in broad daylight with a room full of classmates. who don't spectate or even pay attention. The surrounding boys had non-reactive faces as their classmates were one step away from making out, from rubbing each other's inner thigh to caressing the back of the head and ticketing the hairline of their fellow male student. The behavior was weird and it made me uncomfortable watching these teen boys in school touching each other like a romantic partner, totally normalizing the homosexuality and inability to keep their hands off one another, acting as if it was totally normal to comfort your friend this way. The consistent reminder for these boys to stop, hands off, legs off, don't lick his face, keep your personal space was taxing and exhorting. The behavior endless as it was normalized among several schools with this current age of boys in that year. The traditional handshake on entry stopped after COVID. Sad, but thank the fucking Lord for that. Sweetie, teenage boys' hands came straight from lunch. Handball and a fresh touch of the nuts after squeezing is it. As I had to point out to one young man as he released his hand from within his pants to extend it out ready to shake my hand. Stop. No way, man. What? He had no idea or was just a meathead. Dude, do you know what you just done? Looking back to the door. What happened? He asked with a dopey smile on his pimple-infested pizza face. Really, mate? Really? What? Slowly retracting his hand. Do you want to reenact coming into the classroom just now, or should I just tell you what you just did? I don't know, just tell me, I guess. He says, here, I'll show you. Warning to the group, I'm doing it for real. But dude, you just walked in doing this, one hand deep down in your pants, having a good feel around looking for fleas, touching your balls, with your other hand holding your phone up to your face, and then you make eye contact with me still fondling your nutsack. Click your phone off and put in your pocket, and then and only then did you pull your greasy slimed up hand fresh from your rust nuts to offer me a handshake. Oh mate, thanks for the effort but no thanks. Just needed to point that out. Houdini kid making teenage boys appear from thin air. A little female teenage dirtbag managed to have these teen boys popping into her room, through perimeter alarms and locked doors, boys one at a time appearing from nowhere. Found NB in her room hiding under her bed. What the heck, she snuck in a different dude again. How? I'm not naive and I've been doing this job for some time. Never have I been this bewildered as to how she managed to do it again and again. I can only presume the rate of success was the influence to repeat the attempt of sneaking people in. To describe an incident in full, I had heard a male voice vibrating through the wall when I used the staff bathroom, her bedroom being next door. The male's voice was obvious, so I informed my college and we agreed for a room search. At first she denies entry, I'm naked, then we gave her 30 seconds to get decent, denied entry and becoming heightened, swearing at us to fuck off cunts. Another 30 seconds, we have to call the police. Unlawful entry of an unknown person's trespassing. Go on then, cunts, call the fucking police, you dogs. The other worker and I make our way back into the office and support each other to call the police. She comes to the door like a demon-possessed. Fuck you, how dare you ever accuse me of having someone in my room. Bring ring police, fire ambulance, police. My co-worker states, fuck, you're a cunt, fucking dogs. Really? You're calling the police? My co-worker explains the situation. She puts on the act of innocence. The phone call to the police continues. She suddenly changes her tune into guilt of accusation. I can't believe you think I'm lying, etc. Guilt trip Maximus so much so her acting skills had on the border of feeling wrong. This little fucker. Finally giving into the search and saying, fine, okay, just fucking look now. Go on, you'll see you're wrong, dickhead. Going into her sitting on the far end of the bed, legs over the side, her feet pressing the blanket to the floor. Captain Obvious. I lift the blanket, bend down to look under the small space under the double bed. At first I see white shorts, a knee, a blue shirt. Then to eyes creep out from the darkness. The mullet head of a teenage male forms from the silhouette. Seeing him with a giggle in my voice, I say, busted mate. He replies, oh, shit, can you help me out? lifting the bed to let him out. He asked, "Am I in trouble?" I stated, "No man, you just need to leave. This isn't a place for visitors to sleep. It's a business place, but I've got nowhere else to go." He says, "Okay, mate, still you can't stay here." He leaves with kindness of non-arrest. Mind you, the kid had snuck him and held her head in shame, before turning it back on us with disgust and hatred. Within minutes she hissed, fussed, spewed profanities, left the house, slamming the front door on her way out. Get the holy water. Never had I worked with a client that had been so tormented and traumatized as a child that the soul of the innocent was now protected by 1,000 demons behind 7 different barriers of iron gates, each demonic dominating a different face, all and each casting fire of profanities, insults towards your mother, the threat to harm the things you love and destroy a work ego that until now brought you joy, your ability to engage squashed by jagged javelins to fuck off, cunt. The effort to leave the confined office space was bombarded by canopied rock of burning oil to back off and get back into the fucking office, causing any influence of heroism forced into retreat. Seasons of experience, years on the field. The demand comes changing with intentions of harm. Get the holy water, get it out from your pocket and shout one back, you demand. You force from hell, back in the name of Jesus, back in the name of Mother Mary, back in the name of Lord God. Archangel, I call upon thee, assist us in this battle to triumph ages this evil. Free this child of the darkness she has come to welcome, for she did not know the love of God is greater than any evil claiming to protect her. Splash. Free this child. Splash. Fuck right off. Splash, you get fucked and fuck off right back to where you belong. Splash. By the word of the Almighty. Splash. We command you all and any evil to leave. God, his angels cast you out. The light of heaven protect these children, all his children, and this house and the ground it stands upon. Go or gone. That same client, Superman, punched me in the back of the head for refusing and get into the car with them, instantly concussed. I had even forgot I spoke with my supervisor after the event, realizing these when I called them 3 days after to debrief, and they stated we already have, and we spoke for over an hour. Finding out the latest studies on concussion and first aid training, I am concerned about mental change and or deterioration that is now proven as a possible long-term effect. The oldest person I worked with. Okay, so now if I tell you about the oldest person I worked with, it should round all this up well. Working a disability company, there came a time when I had to transport an elderly woman to her son's house. A 60-minute drive turned into a 3-hour drive. After we leave, we are talking just fine as she sat in the passenger seat, driving onto the freeway traveling towards Newcastle. Halfway the freeway had roadworks and had changed dramatically since her last visit to her son. She became confused and disorientated, then her dementia kicked in, forgetting who I am and where we are going. She became frightened and heightened quickly, jumping at me as we drove down the freeway at 90 to 100. Luckily her seatbelt was still on. She grabs the steering wheel with both hands, pulling it towards her, jolting the car left, forcing the car off the road. The sharp swerve had me praying to God to take care of my children. I then regained control of the wheel, gripping it tightly, with her biting at me and slapping me. I left my left arm at protection and found a safe place to pull over, wait, reintroduce myself and where we are going, and then several minutes later, she would have another episode and we'd have to pull over again, happening 3 more times before we got to our destination. During and after I was calling management and complaining about the lack of information, almost leading to end-of-life danger, and I was never warned. Well, that job didn't last any longer than that. 1902025, written by Ryan Dylan Brassington.